will replace Obamacare. That's obviously a Democrat right now arguing against what he is calling Trump care. Is it Trump care? Is it Ryan care? I think that's still an open question. We will see.
It depends if they get it passed. Who wants their name on it.
Exactly. All right, I want to bring in New Jersey Republican Congressman Tom MacArthur. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. Now, you were a no vote on this. You switched to yes on Wednesday after getting some assurances on Medicaid issues and some concerns you had about the elderly. But there were new changes added last night, stripping out the so-called essential benefits guarantees from the coverage there. So are you still a yes vote?
Well, good morning, John and Poppy. I moved over the weekend. Like with any negotiation, there's sort of a life cycle to it. I learned that in business. I'm only in my second term here, and I had the privilege of running a company. I started just as a trainee in business with $13,000 a year and became a CEO. So I had a lot of experience negotiating deals, and I don't think that's what you're seeing now is nothing more than people wanting to work through what matters to them. And I got to yes over the weekend for a few reasons. One, I was concerned about the elderly and the disabled and Medicaid, and we got a $65 billion investment in that group of people. I was also concerned about the people from 50 to 64 years old in the tax credits, and we were able to get a very significant 50% increase, $90 billion for that group. And I think with anything, you have to negotiate in good faith, and you have to realize when something is at a point where it's worth supporting. We cannot continue the way it is. We have 23 million Americans today that get zero benefit from the Affordable Care Act. They either pay a penalty or they get a waiver.
But Congressman?
Yes?
Congressman, just on that point, it's Poppy here. You talk about these 23 million Americans. The new CBO score that came out maintains that 24 million Americans more would not have coverage under this bill at all by 2026. And you said in a recent interview with the New Jersey Star-Ledger, quote, "No American should be without insurance, and I'm not talking about access, I'm talking about insurance."
Yes.
How do you square the two, sir?
What we've done with this bill, and let me say, as I've said before, no bill is perfect. No bill. The current system is far from perfect. We have to fix it. But when I look at all of the different groups, those in Medicaid, those even before Medicaid, the 23 million I mentioned that are getting no benefit, the people in the tax credit groups, I believe every single one of them will have the ability to buy insurance.
But that is antithetical, sir. Just for a point of factor, that's antithetical to what you said in this interview. You said, "I'm not talking about access, I'm talking about insurance." The fact is that this would mean more people uninsured. How do you square those two things?
Poppy, I do square them because of this. When I say access, I'm not talking about access to health care. I'm talking about insurance, access to insurance. I do believe that. As I've shared before, I went through what it's like to struggle with health care bills. My oldest daughter had over $1 million of medical bills in her 11 years of life, and I fought with insurance companies and health care providers. I have lived this. There's a lot of noise about this bill, and I know there's a lot of fear. I know that. But when you really look at the bill and you look at the CBO score, and I've read it, they are assuming that when there's no mandate, millions of people won't buy insurance. That's not what I see in the bill. I see that every single American will have a advanceable tax credit. They don't have to wait for it when they file their tax returns. They will be able to get it up front and buy insurance.
Congressman, I want to give you some news we just got in. Your majority leader, Kevin McCarthy, just told our reporter, Sunland Sarfati, that he's feeling very good about this today, and he thinks, he just said to our Sunland Sarfati, that it will get through today. So that is from your majority leader. I'm not sure if that's posturing or if it's a genuine, optimistic feeling that they're now getting. But, I want to push you a little bit more on the essential benefits that have been included in Obamacare. That's guarantees of maternity care, mental health care, substance abuse coverage. Those guarantees are out, right? And are you comfortable with that? Do you think it's a better bill? Do you think it provides better care to your constituents without those guarantees?
Well, first, I support essential health benefits, and I'm very fortunate to be in a state, New Jersey, that takes really good care of our people, especially for opioid addiction. I'm the chairman of the heroin task force here in Congress, and our governor and our legislature passed really groundbreaking legislation that gives people 6 months of coverage for dealing with opioid issues.
But that's out. That's out at the federal. That's out now at the federal level. It's out at the federal level. It's out at the guarantee from the federal bill. And I know that states can choose to do differently. But again, is it a better bill in your mind without that in there now?
I think you have to step back and look at the bigger picture. The essential health benefit doesn't apply to the vast majority of plans today. You're talking about less than 10% in the individual market that this essential health benefit is dictated by the federal government. Doesn't include any employer-sponsored group plans or self-insured plans. Doesn't affect Medicare or Medicaid or VA care or military TRICARE. The federal government is only dictating health benefits for a very small band. And all this does is says, you know what, the states do this everywhere else. You can do it for the individual health plans too. So I don't believe this is going to hurt people in the way that all this noise is suggesting.
Before we go, you did meet with the president yesterday. What did he tell you?
Well, I've been really thrilled with the president's response. He's obviously very engaged, but he's treating the legislature as a co-equal branch of government, which I haven't seen in quite some time. He's engaging with us, but he's not trying to dictate this legislation. He's trying to help bring people together. And so I think he's been helpful to the process. And my part, I'm one of the co-chairs of the Tuesday group, the moderate group, and we are in discussions with our leadership, with the White House, with our friends and colleagues in the other caucuses here in the Republican Congress. And we're working it out. And this is like any negotiation. Everyone has to be heard, and you have to find ways to get to yes. We need 216 votes. That's what we're working on.
Congressman, you are hearing and painting a much more kumbaya picture, I think, than we're hearing from others. Thank you very much for being with us, Congressman Thomas MacArthur.
I'm a realist and an optimist.
Clearly an optimist.